right, welcome back, Andre Early yet again here with my crew. We're going to have another conversation today. I think we're going to do more so about transition, facing uh, adversity. I think that's the topic
I
of the
love this
day.
topic. I love this topic.
Obstacles.
I love this topic.
Yo, as we continue on life's journey, it's not a smooth path. It's how do we face adversity? How do we pivot in the face of adversity, whether it's personal, professional, relationships and things of that nature. Even though this is the crew, go ahead and introduce yourselves once again.
Wynne Brown here.
Solomon Thomas.
Joshua Robinson.
All right, fellas. I want to start this off with this one right here, right next to me.
All right.
Josh,
What up?
we're talking about transition. We're talking about life's challenges, obstacles, hurdles, speed bumps. What you got?
I got a lot. I could speak from my experience. My transition, just from going from like being a student to then a full-time professional, was a little bit challenging just because it was a culture shock. And I spent a lot of time trying to like understand how I ended up in this place. Trying to figure out, is this really what I want? But also trying to figure out that while also actively being in a space where like I'm now responsible for the trajectory of like my career, which is kind of tough because it's like you're having this like crisis where you really don't know anything and your whole like reality's kind of shifted, but then at the same time you're expected to perform, and so just trying to find your footing. And I remember just having conversations with my mom just about like having a sense of belonging and why am I here in this position, I thought this is what I may have wanted. Like, is this even what I want now? I think those are all valid questions to have, but at the same time, it's like, regardless of where you end up or, how it may transpire, it's just a matter of like, if this is what you are currently being held responsible for, just kind of going after it. Because that's really all you can measure yourself by. You kind of hear this idea of like control what you can't control. And if you sit there and try to figure out and have all these questions and try to find all the answers to these questions, it's only going to take you further away from actually where you're supposed to be, at least in my experience. And so it takes a level of courage to be able to, want to be curious enough to see what's on the other side of that adversity. And sometimes it could be, what you could be facing on the other side of that is, the lived reality of what you're looking for. It also just could be, the adversity could just serve as a test to see what you're made of, and it could take you just being in a place that you are uncomfortable, that you may not see yourself in to prepare you to get to a place of where you want to be. And so for me, I just kind of had to take a step back and just kind of relax and just take one day at a time and make sure that at least what I was being blessed, the opportunity I was being blessed with, that I was handling it in a way that showed honor to that and kind of leaving tomorrow's worries for tomorrow, but making sure I was taking care of today so I could get to tomorrow, So that would be, I guess, like the way I would face adversity is just kind of face it head on and just jump right into it. Because a lot of times what you want is probably on the other side, or so it'll bring you a step closer to where it is you want to be. And honestly, you won't really know what that end result is. So it's just like, just kind of go for it. Worry about the rest later.
I hear you. Solo.
I 100% agree with Josh's last point about facing adversity head on, I find myself in a position where I almost sometimes I like seeing obstacles. I'm like, oh really? Let me let let me show you how I'm gonna handle this.
Why am I
this
not
obstacle.
surprised? Why am I not surprised?
Because honestly, and I feel like it's not the majority population mindset, right? Most people, I don't feel like adversity. And obviously it's not like I like adversity, but it's like I'm very comfortable facing adversity. Adversity does not scare me. Doesn't I don't shy away from it. People a lot of times people are like, how can I avoid this? Or like, that's too hard. Let me worry about it another time. Like, let me put that off. Let me just not travel down that path because it looks challenging. If there's something that you want, regardless of how difficult it may be to get it, I always encourage like face the adversity head on. Like have those difficult conversations, you know? See if there's another way that you can get around the obstacle, go through the obstacle. Like don't let obstacles push you from getting what you're interested in and what you want. Personally, go ahead. You sound like this seems like this.
You already know something's gonna come because I think I've known you the longest out of the three. But are you looking at this whole concept of quote unquote change? Are you looking at it from a perspective of you know it's going to be better on the other side, or are you doing it to prove someone wrong, or prove that you can do it?
I think it's a variety of things.
I want to hop in here. We finish,
No doubt.
and I'll be quick so I can go ahead. I think in life, anything, when an obstacle comes up and you make it through that obstacle, one, it gives you confidence, and then two, nobody can take that away from you, right? So if the obstacle like literally me and Solo were running, right? And they blocked the road off on the path. So we literally couldn't keep running. We had to turn around and go another way. But me and Solo like jumped over this gate, like hopped off a couple rocks. This is literally on the West Side Highway, so the water is right there. And then hopped over the other gate and kept running down our path. And I don't even know how many miles we ran today, but like
8.
we put the work in, even though we went through an obstacle. And that was like a literal obstacle, but in life, when obstacles come and you push through and you accomplish something, one, nobody can take that from you. And I think that gives you a level of confidence, not in an arrogant way, but like internally, like my head is held high because I made it through that nobody can take from you. So on that point, I'll let Solo continue.
No, I think he summed it up beautifully. That is a literal example of an obstacle and figuring out a way through it. And it's not as though we saw the gate and we already knew how we were going to handle it. No, we came up to it. We stopped. We was like, okay, do we go back? Like, dang, that seems kind of whack. Like, we came all this way, and then we almost did turn back. But I'm like, we can do that, and we'll get through. Like, it's fine. And JR's like, yeah, we do it, and then we good. And now we run that route all the time because we know how to handle that obstacle. So it's like, it's another thing about handling obstacles that not only gives you confidence, but now gives you experience, and you can handle similar things in the future. So you don't even view that adversity, that obstacle, as an obstacle anymore. Now, because you already know how to navigate it. You see what I'm saying? So I think there's a lot of benefits to facing adversity, facing obstacles head on, because now those things are no longer something that can stop you. And you have that additional confidence for when you face a new one, that I know that I might not know how to handle this right now, but I will handle it. and I'm gonna figure out how to handle it. That's kind of my view on them. Like, similar to Josh, I've faced plenty of obstacles, plenty of adversities, but I've never shied away from them. I've never let them scare me. I always go into it with the confidence of like, I'm going to figure this out. And I'm not letting that overwhelm me like, oh my God, I have to figure this out. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, no, like, I'm gonna figure this out. Let's get to work.
Yeah.
If I could quickly just touch on something Josh said real quick, and I want to hear y'all's opinions on this as well, because I feel like, especially growing up playing sports and things like that, you kind of tie your identity and your self-worth to that sport or that whatever it is.
Absolutely.
And I think it's even more important when you're younger to try to start figuring out who you are beyond that sport or beyond that thing that you do. Because one day, for me, it was basketball. One day, the ball will stop bouncing, and you will have to figure out who you are beyond this sport. And something that I did early on was have those hard conversations with myself and figure out who am I beyond this. So curious to see like y'all's thoughts behind not tying your identity to something that's out of your control or something that's extrinsic.
Yeah, for sure. I think like for me, I definitely grew up. It was my mindset. I used to shy away from adversity. Like I was always focused on like perception of those around me. So I was worried about what other people might say if I stepped out the confines of like how they viewed me or what I was expected to do. And then it just kind of got to a certain point in my life where I was like, I wanted something different. And it was kind of like, why am I holding myself within this box, like this of my lived reality? Like, why do I have to see myself as X, Y, Z? Like, could it be something different? And so I feel like I went through a period of like, I like to call it a natural ego death, where like I separated what I thought of myself and everything I thought was true to myself. And I began to just kind of like live with the idea of like, let me figure out who I am for myself and not what other people have told me I am. And I think that's when I began to like look at in this topic like adversity different. Because now it's like I'm doing things, or I want to be challenged because I'm in this place of growth and self-discovery, rather than not want to be challenged because I don't want to, I don't want to upset those around me that, expect things of me that I may not hold for myself. And so facing adversity now, like what you guys have mentioned, is really just to prove to myself that I could do it, like above anything else. Like it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or what could be on the other side of that adversity. It's just like, if I don't have anything else, and like you said, nobody can take it from you, I gotta prove to myself daily that I can do it, right? And so it's like, if we, like we're early on in our career right now, but if we want to go on and do like just big things, whatever, like it's a series of small steps that you gotta build. So I think it's like a mental callus you gotta build. So I think of adversity now as like, in order to get to work on time, right, you gotta get out the bed.
Right.
That's adversity. You might be tired, but you gotta get out of bed, right? You gotta
wins.
You gotta make your bed up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like these small levels of adversity now build up so that you can get to work on time. And you getting to work on time could lead to like, you being able to take care of what you need to take care of, which leads to promotion. And it just keeps going. So I think adversity, again, is just like a challenge to prove to yourself, to build that mental callus so that when you are given more responsibility, like you like, oh, I didn't hit this shot 1,000 times. Yeah. Like, of course I'm about to take this. You know what I mean? Like I made my bed. I went to the gym. Exactly. I took care of I read today. Like, of course I could do this. You know what I mean? So
yeah, something about those early morning workouts, huh?
For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's the small wins. I feel like the small wins add up over time. And again, like no matter what happens throughout the day, like say it was a bad day, like things aren't going well, adversity's hitting, you're against the wall. At least I woke up that morning and I took care of what I had to take care of. So it's not like, dang, I didn't even do that this morning, and it's a bad day, and this and that, and it starts compiling. So you, as much as you can, like cherish those small wins and like actually get those small wins throughout the day, because it's out of your control what happens. Honestly, each and every day, it's out of your control. Most things are out of your control. So those small wins add up.
That's fair. That's fair. Told you guys, like, so, you know, believe it or not, this is how this whole concept came up. Experienced some personal things, and I had to step away. And when I stepped away, I literally had to, you know, just be with myself and figure out the next moves and how everything was going to go moving forward with just my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, I started thinking about my passion. My passion will always be giving back,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then all of a sudden this whole concept, which is actually kind of funny. I attended a conference, a regional conference solo a few weeks ago, and the speaker at the undergraduate breakfast was talking about starting a podcast. Yeah, and then I'm sitting here chuckling because, you know, I was just like, yo, wow, he knows my story and doesn't even know who I am yet, which is actually kind of funny. You know, but giving back has always been, you know, just part of my DNA. And when I work with those that are, you know, starting out, is there an effective and efficient way to really process how to pivot when a challenge hits you dead smack in the face?
When you say, one sec, when you say pivot, are we pivoting? Are we saying like that challenge is like gonna take you out and you need to pivot? Like it's not, or are we saying we're pivoting so we can overcome that challenge?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I think it's tough because every challenge, every obstacle is a little different. Some more major than others. And I think everyone handles it differently as well. I think I don't necessarily know if there's a way to. I think, yes, you can help, but there's no way to like give them the blueprint. But I think because every single one is differently and it impacts people differently, I think there are certain skills and certain concepts that folks can generally adhere to or try and understand that will help them in navigating whatever their specific obstacle is. Like, you have the framework and now you just apply it to your specific situation, right? So I do think there's a way to communicate that to them. Like, here's maybe a similar situation or somebody who experienced something similar. Here's how they navigated it. Or, you know, I could try and extrapolate something that happened in my past to your situation. And here's the things that I use to move forward or to pivot. So you can take them through that. Just sharing, like, I always find personal experiences and stories, even if it's not like your story, like someone else you know's story, to be extremely powerful. But also, when that adversity hits, support. It's such a big thing. Like, a lot of times people will get hit with something and then maybe they're scared to share. They don't want to share. Maybe for various reasons. Maybe they don't want other people to know. Maybe they're just trying to put on that face like, yeah, I got it. You know what I mean? But I think a lot of times it's important for people to have a community that they can go to, that they can be vulnerable with. It's really hard for people to be vulnerable, especially if we're talking about black men. Like, we're all black men here. That's an entirely different conversation.
That's a different
about being vulnerable. But, you know, particularly staying on topic, navigating challenges, being a support system for folks who are facing adversity, and just giving them that positive reinforcement like we all do for each other is something that could go a very long way in helping them navigate that challenge.
And I think this is going back to the first episode. Something that I mentioned was critical thinking. Using the running example, when me and Solo stopped, like it was the gates literally stopping us. We didn't just like say, "Oh, we're gonna keep going no matter what." I think that's a mindset that some people have. Like, no matter what happens, like I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna bulldoze my way through. Sometimes you need to be able to like just flow, or sometimes you need to stop and think about what's ahead of you. Why is this block here? So in our situation, we looked at the gate and we looked at what was ahead, and we were able to say, all right, this gate is here for XYZ. We're able to, if we can get past this little small block, we can continue down this path all the way through, and we can finish. We could get the win. We could go through. I think sometimes critical thinking comes into play and can help you shape how to tackle a problem. Like, some things, yes, you need to put your head down and grind through it. Other things, you may need to pivot. You may look up and see, I'm going the wrong way. I need to shift and go a different direction. I might need to, maybe the goal I was trying to get isn't what I want anymore. You have to really stop and think when you come to adversity, when you come to a block, think about the best way to approach it and tackle it strategically rather than just putting your head down and getting through it.
So interesting you guys bring all that up, because I want to pretty much like relate that to your career.
You want to pivot?
Want to pivot?
Yeah.
Want to pivot? You know, so you guys have had internship opportunities, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Was it 1, 2, or 3?
2 for me.
2?
3.
3?
2.
2? So during your during your internship opportunities, once you once you guys concluded, you know, your respective internship opportunities, how did it make you feel? What did you learn? And was it something that you wanted to continue to press forward or move forward as it relates to your career journey? Because I've witnessed some individuals, they were like, yeah, their internship opportunity, the first year, I definitely didn't want to do that for the rest of my life. You know, so how does that come into play?
I mean, I can start. I think that's literally the value of the internship experience, right? It gives folks, I mean, there's a lot of value of it, but in this particular context, it gives folks the opportunity to explore a career and explore a job opportunity. What is it, not just working, but what is it working in this space? If that's a corporate job, what is it working in corporate America? What is it working in this industry? What is it working in this field? So you get that experience. What is that like? And that's why like self-reflection is so important, particularly in this space. I think it's important all around. Mm-hmm. But you go through the experience and then you have to reflect on, is this what I thought it would be? 2, the reality of what it is. Did I enjoy it? Did I like it? Is this something that I would want to do? And 3, like, could I see myself doing this for X period of time? So I think that when I say that's the value of the internship is that it is a defined period of time that you're going to be in this employment, and you get the opportunity to have that exposure as like full-time, like you're full-time during that internship period. Mm-hmm. And you get to see, what about this experience do I like? What about this experience don't I like? And how can I use that to inform where I go next? So that's important. And then also, because it's only a defined period of time, and we've all done multiple, you get to do different ones. So you get to use that same framework and then reflect on your various experiences. And then you can understand, like, now I've done 2 internships. Now I've done 3 internships. I know a bunch of things that I don't like, and I know a bunch of things that I do like. How can I bring together the things that I do like to inform the ideal career, the ideal role, the ideal path for me to follow as I am now looking for full-time employment, which is, it can also be short term if you want to keep company jumping or job jumping or role jumping. But, I think it's intended to be more long term when you're like picking a career. But I think that's how I view the internship and learning what you like and what you don't.
I would say the beauty of an internship, just to echo that, is you find out what you like and what you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great thing because you know where to focus your energy and where not to focus your energy. But after my last internship, I think I told Josh this, I didn't really feel excited. Like I felt relieved. Like it was off my plate now. I didn't have to keep doing that. And I think the biggest thing that I learned from internships, going to my internships versus full time is pace. I think in the internship it's like go go go. I'm on 24/7. Like I have to get this in. I have to get this return offer, and you like kind of sprinting. I think once you enter the workforce full time, you kind of have to set a pace that you can keep up for years. So whereas the internship was a sprint, this is more so a jog. And I was talking to Sola about this earlier. It's like you got to pick a pace that you can keep up for a long time when you get to your career, because there's people that's been doing this as long as I've been alive, and they still going and they still climbing the ladder or whatever. So I would say once you pivot into a full time, you're no longer doing the sprint. You're thinking long term at this point. So pace is a big thing for me.
So is that pretty much similar to training for, let's say, a half marathon
Yeah.
or something?
Yeah. Picking the pace you can run at for 13 versus trying to sprint the whole thing and then getting burnt out
Indeed.
halfway through. So
Absolutely. I'd offer an alternative perspective as well to that, because that's very true in a lot of cases, but in some cases, it's very different. Some people enter fields that are always on, always go. You're working 80, 100 hours a week. We got plenty of friends in investment banking, consulting. Like these are careers where things are like, at least the projects are organized in more short bursts, but they're pretty continuous. But people tend to stay in these careers for a shorter period of time because of the intensity of it. Obviously, some people do stay longer because they're just like wired that way and built for that thing. But I don't think necessarily when you're picking a career, you have to be like, okay, can I do this thing for the next 10 years? Like I view the career as a journey. It very much ebbs and flows. Opportunities will come up as they do. You may want to pivot at some point. So I don't necessarily always think about the pacing, which a lot of people have a similar mindset and can end up getting burnt out from that. And that is something to be mindful of to try and, mitigate as much as possible. But I talk about those two careers. Another example is like being a founder, like of a startup. That requires all your energy. You're probably working all the time, 24/7. You're always on.
On that point,
Facts.
if you're in a career that's high stress and demands a lot of you, that still is within my point, because that means the extracurriculars have to be at a slower pace. Like maybe outside of work, I'm not on go, versus inside of work, I have to be. So I think you have to look at it. You have to look at your whole life, like everything that you do, or you have to factor in everything that you do, not just work, because the extracurriculars can burn you out just as quick as work can. So you kind of have to balance everything, I feel like.
Absolutely.
Just on that point.
Absolutely.
Josh?
Yeah, I guess after my internship experience, I didn't really know how to feel about it. I guess I had mixed feelings. Like obviously I was excited to like get a return offer and, have employment, family's happy, the son's gonna be all right. But then I remember having this experience when I walked out, like from getting my return offer, and it was like I walk out in the city and whatnot, and like I just see people like just on the street, and it just felt weird. I had this feeling of like I wasn't deserving, or what made me deserve this opportunity, because I didn't really see a difference between me and this person that may be down and out, and so it just made me question like why me in a way, somewhat, not in terms of like, oh, obviously like I'm going to college and I've had opportunities that I've taken advantage of, but it was just, it made me think about life in a different perspective as far as like, this could be me. There's really no difference between me and this person. And so it just kind of like we hold some of these like internships and jobs to this high esteem, like this is the pinnacle of like your life or your career, like this is like a big thing. But at the same time, like life could be totally different. And so for me, it was just like, how do I want to shape this narrative for me? Like, is this job or does this internship define the value that I bring to life itself? Or like, how do I be more intentional about defining what that means for me? And so that's that was kind of my thoughts, like at the end of my internship. Obviously, I was excited and happy, but I don't know. It was mixed feelings.
Like, I feel you. So, and I think as we navigate the seasons, though, I am interested, to your point, to know how do you remain strategic? How do you remain, patient as you guys are literally navigating this whole process? And then how do you share, your experiences with others?
Yeah. In terms of sharing, I think I'm super honest with people who are interested in these particular fields. I believe like there's more transparency that's needed. Sometimes you'll talk to certain people and they won't tell you everything about the job, or it's like they're not necessarily happy, but they're trying to sell you a position, or they want you to join something that they're not even happy doing. And so I try to lay out like I try to connect it in a way that's like I have people think about like what is it that you want in your life? Do you prioritize your social life? Do you want autonomy in your job? Are you trying to make a lot of money? Are you trying to live in this particular area? What's like what do you want your next 3 to 5 years to look like? And if you can map that out, okay, now ask yourself, does this job you're going for, given that you gotta work 80 hours a week, or you're gonna be making less money than some of your peers, does it align with what you say you want for yourself? And I think sometimes if people take a step back and are able to self-assess, what they're looking for, they can make a more informed decision in terms of, is this the opportunity that I should be seeking right now? Because I had a lot of friends that ended up in good jobs, like working, making good money, but they were working crazy hours, and it wasn't necessarily what they signed up for, or they didn't know that that's what that job was going to entail prior to. And it wasn't that they weren't a good employee, but it's like they leave and now their whole career shifts, because it's like it just wasn't a good fit where they started. It doesn't really speak to who they are as a professional. So just like being transparent when sharing with other people about navigating this space. And then what was the second part of that question? Or
Remaining patient or being strategic.
Yeah, and in terms of just remaining patient, just taking things a day at a time. I think the hardest thing for me was like in college, everything is structured, or like just school in general. 4 years, you got sophomore, whatever, junior, senior. You're gonna graduate in 4 years, and then it's like you're thrusted out into the workforce, and there's no timing on anything. Like obviously, there's some structure in terms of promotions, but things take longer. If you're in finance here and now you want to get into fashion, that could happen in a year, but it might take you 2 years to build up the network.
Thanks.
Another year for the actual opportunity to actually become available to you. Things just take time. And so I think you have to be really strategic about just understanding the fact that things are going to take time. Give yourself grace. Understand it's not going to happen overnight. And identify the small actionable steps you can take so it doesn't feel like you're not doing anything. Because in order to get if you want a career pivot, if you're looking to do something within like a different industry, it may take 2 years. So it's like, what can I be doing today to work up to that point? So it's not like, okay, it's not like, oh, I'm just trying to move and now it's 2 years in and now I'm just like, I'm stuck. You don't have the network. You haven't built up the connections. You don't have the understanding, the knowledge of what it takes to get there. So it's like, okay, it's going to take me a year to really start building this network. I got to do some research. So then it's like, when you're ready to make the move, it's not like you're just doing it with no resources.
Right.
It's like, okay, I've been building up to this point and now, I'm able to be more nimble in this space. So
I think that goes back to some points you made earlier. One, you got to pace yourself. Like, if you expecting everything to happen super fast, you're going to burn yourself out because it's not the reality of how it works in the real world. So I think pace is important, and then the small wins. Like, all right, I set a goal for myself. I'll do 2 people a week versus trying to network with the whole team in 1 week. So it's like those small wins over time add up, and they matter because nobody can take that away from me. I'll put in the work. I did all the research. That'll give you the confidence you need. So small wins and pacing. I'm gonna keep echoing on that. If you have anything, Solo.
Because I mean, think about some of some of the individuals in your network. Think about your collegiate days. You go in, you major in, a field, and then 2 years later, you're like, you know what, I'm not doing this.
Right.
And then you up and change your major, which throws technically everything off when you're trying to graduate in 4 years or whatever. So and then you got to have that support. So how does that all play in to how we navigate our responsibilities in our respective fields, in our respective employment situations. I'm thinking about right now in my current role, I have tendency to send out what I call Winning Wednesday, a motivational, inspirational message that goes out to my team. At the end of the day, I know I still have to believe in what I send out, but I find it funny that the past 3 messages that have been going out is all about change and how do we adapt to it and what happens if we don't change. Mm-hmm. So how do we move forward, because think about it, everything, believe it or not, comes back down. For me, it will always come back down to an age component. You're dealing with 3, maybe 4 generations in one work setting. We all have different ways of processing information. And some of us are, unfortunately insecure or, not up to the way that things, are now as it used to be. Mm-hmm. How do we all coexist, in that type of environment without it being, toxic, negative? I'm not trying to steal anyone's role. I have enough with my current role. But if I know that there's a way to do something better or, more efficient, I have no problems with, hey, let's think about this. As opposed to, no, I'm not coming in trying to tell you that you haven't been doing something. Mm-hmm. It's just like, what are we doing here? Are we working in the best interest?
Yep.
Together. So that's all that part of adversity. Yeah.
I think another career advice I would say is take ownership of the career you want to have. It's like sometimes we might just think okay, an opportunity will come. But at the same time, I feel like you also need to be building this world of what you want in the meantime. Opportunity comes to those who are ready, they're prepared. Like it doesn't just happen. They've been putting in work. So if I know I want to do this other job, potentially, it's like I'm not gonna wait till and just expect that in 2 years when I'm ready to do it that it'll just happen. It's like, okay, I'm identifying the people that I need to, be in touch with or build relationships with. I'm recognizing maybe the gaps in my skill set where like what's needed to potentially even enter into that role. Like, how could I be studying that now? Going out and just seeking information and building that world so that again, when the time comes, like I'm ready to step into that opportunity, and it doesn't pass me by. So I think that's the biggest thing is just taking ownership because, a lot of our like the peers and the decision makers, they're working, they have their own careers to manage. They're not necessarily worried about, unless maybe it's a direct manager or something, but they're not necessarily worried about your career as much as you will be. Like they got their own responsibilities and things that they're trying to do, their own commitments. So it's really up to you. There's nobody like if you want to, like we joke around like if you come in and analyst and they tell you can't move and there's a position for you that you see interested, like yeah, people might tell you can't do it, but there's nothing that's stopping you from going and creating an opportunity for yourself. Like JR keeps mentioning, like nobody can take that from you. So really take ownership of your career and make the moves. Like if it's something you're interested in, you want to do it, like be strategic, go after it, and like don't just think that it's gonna happen. Really prepare yourself so then you can step into that opportunity and give it all that you have.
And I want to say, because I think this is one of the hardest things to get in life, is that you could be doing all this, you could be preparing yourself, you could be the right person for the job, you could be putting in all the work, but at the end of the day, like, it can still not go the way you want it to. And I think, like, literally, that's the hardest thing to grasp my mind around is that you could do everything the right way and not work out. So in that situation and in those times, I think it's more important, like Josh said, that you're doing things that nobody can take away from you, because I think I heard this before, I forget who said it, it's more important on your path who you become than what you acquire. So I think along that path, having in the back of your mind that I could be doing all this and it's still not working in my favor. So yeah, I just wanna plug that in there and let people know, like, you got to be okay with that as well. That's adversity as well.
Yeah,
that's the reality of adversity. Like it can still not work out regardless.
yeah. That was really hard for me to grasp too. Just the idea of I'm putting in all this work and nothing is changing around me. Yeah. Like my day looked exactly the same as it did.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's kind of like equivalent of you going to the gym and you're not seeing no result.
Right.
But you've been in the gym though. You know what I'm saying? And it's really just falling in love with that process. Like no matter what my reality looks like, if I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be, not for any external result, but just more so this is what's best for me, will you continue to show up for yourself? Mm-hmm. Even if nothing or nobody else acknowledges the work you're putting in.
Right. And it's so much easier said than done. Because like when you have that feeling and when you're in it, it's tough.
Yeah.
I'm smiling about it right now, but it's tough. Like it's not a good feeling. So when you really talk about adversity, that's what it looks like. Mm-hmm. And that's how you continue to work through it. Like what Josh was saying, like this is for me. Like when I look in the mirror, only I know that I put this work in. Nobody else may even know. So I think that's the way to get through adversity. Going back to the whole theme of this episode.
I agree. I'm just processing everything that was, shared because there are things that are literally beyond our control. It's those outside, influences, outside forces. And as we are trying to navigate, what we're trying to accomplish, just like, wow. But then when we do look in the mirror and say, you know what? I did the damn thing.
Right.
I did it and no one can take it away. Well, fellas, this was well needed because at the end of the day, we all face some type of adversity, some type of change, and we just it all depends how we respond to it.
Yeah.
And some of us are better at it than others.
Yeah.
And I think it goes to your point earlier, self-awareness. Knowing yourself?
Yeah. More people are more willing, and those people who are more willing, obviously it gets a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm.
So it just looks like they're better. But they all started at a place where they didn't know, like, they had to face that adversity for the first time. So it's like if you go to the gym and you try to bench 225, that first time is gonna be tough.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And then you see somebody who can do reps, and it's like, but they had to start at some point where they could not do it. You know what I mean? So I think people are just they get used to facing adversity.
Gotcha.
But the self-awareness piece, I think, is really critical. Because I think your body naturally tells you what you need. It's like if you're hungry, your stomach gonna rumble. You might be a little tired. If you need sleep, your body has ways of telling you. And I think in terms of your career, your body will kind of show you, what you should be paying attention to. Those natural inclinations that we may overlook sometimes because, for any number of reasons. I think it's just kind of like how we met. Like, you know what I mean? Just on the train, but like there was an inclination for you to say something. And then that turns into this. I think that goes the same way about your career. Sometimes, like when you're in a space, your body will kind of tell you like, hey, I don't think this is best for you. Are you going to pay attention to that feeling? Are we going to pay attention to it and recognize what it's telling you and have the courage to listen to, and be guided by how you feel, that internal guide? Or are we going to overlook it and just like JR was saying, are we just going to try to keep pushing forward, and in that meantime, that pushing forward, you're negating yourself and what you actually need. You're actually doing more destruction than anything. So
Very cool. So you good?
I'm good.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm good.
And just by the way, that day, representing the a premier HBCU, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
of course.
I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting, and I feel like it would be a cool story for the viewers to know as well. Is how did we all meet? How did we all know each other? Because I knew them, I knew you, you knew them, you knew me, and then we all came together at like a dinner and was like the Spider-Man.
Isn't that crazy? This all goes to show how small the world is, and I must say it was truly a blessing just to have that quick conversation on the subway, because here it is. It all comes full circle. I guess we just have that same type of level of energy that draws us together. We're gonna have to, definitely share that with the viewers later on down the road.
Yeah.
So, but fellas, I think we're gonna shut this one down. Obviously, there was some great takeaways as we continue on life's journey. So, another episode of Right Now Leaders. Once again, I'm feeding off you guys. So, thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, wisdom, and experience. And I definitely look forward to the next time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
having
Yeah,
us.
for sure.
Thank y'all for tuning in.